Hey, Madison, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jason. Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, excited to have you on. Tell us who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name is Madison Carr, and I'm the owner of Creative Chameleon, which is a one man branding agency, and I focus on brand strategy and brand design for private schools.
Cool. And how'd you get started?
Well, I have, in some ways, a very traditional background for any designer out there, where once I learned design, I thought I want to freelance. So at the time, it was about 10 years ago, I went to Craigslist just find some clients and just started freelancing right away. And for the first about 5 years of my career, I did what every good designer does is I said yes to every job that came my way. Every client, every project, I figured it out as I went, which is the necessary nature of being a freelancer sometimes. Um, so I had that background, and I just realized that it was a real grind, it was a real hustle, and the industry was changing. And I knew I was a good designer, but learning those business skills, learning those marketing skills was really necessary because it was even 5, 10 years ago, it was really competitive. It's even more so today. So at the time, I heard all the advice about niching down, but I just didn't know where. Right? There wasn't anything that called me. There wasn't anything that I felt passionate about to start saying no to other projects. So for the first half of my career, I hustled, and then eventually found a school client, and then loved it and realized it was the right time to niche down. So that's how I ended up in the education sector. I can't say that I had the incredible foresight to seek it out. I wish I could say that, but I didn't. It fell in my lap, but it was the right time to take advantage of that. So now I'm able to say that I work almost exclusively in the education sector, but I paid my dues early on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think all of us kind of fall into it by accident.
Yeah,
I tell people it's 90% showing up and then 10% trying to, figure it out afterwards. That's kind of how I started my agency. That's how I started this podcast. It was just, all right, let's just do this. Oh man, it's actually working. And then
yep,
you get to go. Um, More and more there's agencies of one person. Why keep it small? Like what's
yeah.
your mindset around that?
I have two big mindsets. The first is that I am a designer, first and foremost, not a manager. So the idea of overseeing a lot of people, I know I can do it. I know I could rise to the challenge if I had to, but I never had that drive to oversee a big team. I love getting my hands dirty. I love being a creative. So I always had that desire. It's what drove me to be a freelancer, not just a gun for hire in some big company somewhere. I loved being super involved in the creative process, and I want a majority of my time to be spent doing creative work. Now, being a business owner, of course, that's not the reality. I do a lot of things that aren't creative work in my day to day,
Yeah.
but I loved having that and maintaining that idea that the majority of my time for my career is being creative. So I always had that in mind of how can I build a model that allows me to maintain that instead of just climbing a ladder and passing off the fun work to junior designers. Um, so that was a big part of it. And then secondly, as I focused on the education industry and established myself as an expert in the field when it comes to branding for schools, I've really realized how much of a value point that it is for schools who hire me. They aren't looking to outsource their brand to someone who doesn't understand schools, someone who doesn't understand them. They want the face to face time with someone who has that experience and to build that relationship. So when it comes to actually doing projects, that was really important to me. Is I work with a lot of school boards, a lot of school teams. There's a lot of people. I didn't want to rely on having to bring in my own team of people, but rather that it's a one person, a one face that they're getting, and that has been a real point of value for schools who hire me.
What's been the drawback about being a one person shop?
It's a little exhausting, Jason. It is a lot of work, a lot of pressure, and there's times where when I talk with schools, depending on their scope, they are looking for a bigger team. Usually in the realm of when they're doing a rebrand, they also want a full new website with all the bells and whistles. They want a video campaign. They want all these different things in one package. So there are agencies that have full teams of multiple disciplines who can deliver that. So sometimes I lose out on projects because a school at that point of where they're at, they want a really big team to lock in for the next 5 years. So that's a drawback for sure. But also, it gives me a leg up in other areas for other projects where a lot of schools don't have the budget to hire an agency of that size with all that overhead. So a lot of times I'm able to talk to schools and say, hey, you're getting an expert. We're cutting all the waste. You're getting me. You're getting my time, my attention, my expertise. And that wins me projects sometimes. So
Well,
there's
it's got to
drawbacks
be
in some
exhausting
areas.
though. Like,
A
when's the
little
last time you
tiring.
took a vacation?
It's been a hot minute. I'm not gonna lie. And usually my vacations are hiking, so even those aren't relaxing vacations. But um, that's just the entrepreneurial grind at play. Um, but actually, what's been beautiful about niching down is, in some ways, doing these big ticket projects where it's just me is exhausting. But because I've niched down, it actually has made a lot of the business side of things so much easier. I've spent a
Hmm.
lot less time. Um, I'm no longer on Craigslist. I'm no longer looking on Craigslist for jobs.
Are
Um,
they even around anymore?
no, I wouldn't advise anybody going to Craigslist to find
I
freelance
think you'd
gigs.
find a very different stuff.
It's changed quite a bit. Yeah, I think I was in the very end of that window where it was viable. But yeah, I'm spending less time doing that hustling of chasing down clients, chasing down any lead anywhere, selling myself short just to get a job. That's been the beauty of niching down and becoming an expert in my field, is that the business side and the sales process has actually gotten much easier, much lighter work. So I'm starting to see that shift happen a few years in now where, yeah, there's a lot of pressure. There, schools pay me a lot of money and it's all on my shoulders. I don't have a team to fall back on. But actually, a lot of that upfront work has gotten much smoother, much easier. So my hope is that continues.
So, what happened that you don't want to manage people?
I've been on sides both sides of being a designer. I've been in house for various stretches of time. I've been a contractor. I've been a freelancer. I've always maintained freelance to some degree in my career, um, but I've really seen just what it looks like when you have a creative team with the non creative people in charge. And I really respect creative directors. I love the idea, but it's it's its own kind of grind, right? I don't think there's any position, any job in the world that doesn't have an element of grind and pressure and hustle. Um, and I think for the creatives out there, the designers and animators, illustrators, all of us people, there's always some payoff, right? So a lot of my middle years of my career so far have been figuring out, well, do I want to go for a senior position? Do I want to climb up some corporate ladder to become a creative director? Do I want to build that team myself? Or do I want to stay with flexibility and autonomy? And autonomy is just really important. So I'm not averse to managing people. I've had interns, I've had contractors that I've overseen, but I really love just being so involved in the creative process and the autonomy that comes with it. So that to me has always been something that I've maintained. If I can see in the future, maybe there'll be a point where that shifts a little bit, but
Well,
there's a lot of value in that.
yeah, let me ask you this because
Yeah.
I think myself and a lot of people I interview, it took them a long time to realize where we were all shitty managers because we were like, right, like you'd hire someone to make your life easier, but they actually made it more complex
Hmm.
because I hired the wrong person, right? And then what I
Yeah.
realized was the person I needed to hire, anybody under me, has to be self managing, right?
Hmm.
Where I have to tell them, here's the outcome I want. It's kind of like think of AI right now.
Yep.
Most people go to AI and they ask it a question and they just put it in the chat. And that's all nice. And you'll get some good information if you actually give it the context. But if you really want to accelerate it, say, this is the outcome I'm looking for. Go do it.
Hmm.
Where I'm more of a director than a manager. Do you think you
Hmm.
would do you see
Yeah.
the difference there?
Yeah. That's a great question. And there's an element of being a creative director that I I actually do quite a bit in my day to day, particularly when I'm partnering with other vendors. So when I do branding for school, I do a lot of creative work up front. I give them a new brand, a new strategy. And then the bigger challenge is them implementing that. And I'm involved in that process quite a bit. I help them understand how to roll out these things. So a big part of my job at that stage in the project is helping impart the vision we've created to the people who are actually going to enact these things, the boots in the ground. So in that more narrowed way, I get to do creative directing, which I really love that part because I've built the thing. Now I get to make sure they don't break the thing,
Mhm.
which is scary when they do break it, but I'm able to be involved. So that side of it, I really love. And that's different than just managing a junior designer or an account manager. Um, it's a little more involved on the creative side of things.
Yeah, I just, I see it where, and I fell into this trap as well because originally I was a programmer, but I was horrible at it, and because I was always a designer.
Hmm.
And what I realized was I was better at my early career designing the systems to keep everybody on track in the guardrails, right? And
Hmm.
so what I realized was I kind of had to skip the manager level, even though I had to go through it just to kind of realize that I'm a shitty manager. And I needed to get to what I call the architect stage, where I was designing systems and I hired people that could manage themselves and actually follow directions. And when I was able to do that, then I had freedom, really kind of the
Yeah.
freedom to pick and choose what I wanted. So I was always in the creative process meeting, the first kickoff meeting. I didn't
Hmm.
have to be, I chose to be, right? Which was a realization that I had later on because I was like, man, I can't take a vacation. Like
Yep.
my chest was tight all the time. Like it was just me. And I was just, worn out. And there's only so much that I could have managed myself because I was like, you tell me if this happens, like you focus on sales and then delivery kind of takes a shit.
Yep.
And then you focus on delivery and then sales takes a shit. Right.
Yep.
And it's that roller coaster. Does that happen?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's something that's been really delightful. I'll say a surprise because I just didn't anticipate it, but by focusing on one industry, and now that I've been in the industry for a few years, I've have some experience in just how it moves. Is that's really helped alleviate elements of that roller coaster. The roller coaster is still there. I don't think any business has no roller coaster, but
Mhm.
it's really helped me plan better.
Well, they
And
do. It just goes
yeah,
down.
that's true. Some industries are on a free fall, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's really helpful to learn how to navigate the industry better because now when I was taking any project, I mean any project, anything and everything, just to stay afloat, it was every day was feast or famine. There was no predictable nature to it. But by learning one industry, I've really been able to alleviate some of that pressure in my chest, right? So the idea of the school calendar has been so helpful for me. The fact that there's a buying season where everyone's budget planning, everyone's going on sales calls. There's an execution season. So I still have. I don't think I'll ever fully chase away those ghosts of the roller coaster, but it's a lot easier to manage that now, by understanding how the industry works. And every industry has their own cyclical nature. You just have to be in it long enough to figure it out.
Let me ask you this. Do you like owning the agency or do you want it to control you? Just
Yeah.
and there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah. That's
I'm
a
so
great question.
intrigued by it because I was always the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah. I think and I'll say this as with as much self-awareness as I think one can have about it. Um, I I love the tension it brings. And there were times, and there's still occasional days, but there were times where the tension wasn't good. It was debilitating. But in the last year or so, even with the changing market, even with everything in the industry going on when it comes to marketing and design, AI, all these buzzwords we hear about, um, I'm at a point now where as I build more equity in this industry, becoming a recognizable name and face and an agency name, I really love the tension it brings because I think and I don't know what this says about me as a creative, but I really thrive with deadlines. I really thrive with pressure. I spent 10 years developing the ability to work creatively under pressure.
Mhm.
So the idea of removing that, I love stability. I want security. Those are great things, but I love that push and pull that being the one woman agency brings me,
Yeah.
while still having flexibility to. I bring in great copywriters who can do wonderful things. I can't program to save my life, so I can bring in great
We don't need to
programmers.
program anymore. If you could talk
That's
English,
true,
you can program now.
exactly. Yeah, so I might be changing my tune on that one, but I love being able to bring in people who can do the things that I can't. I firmly believe in um, when you have the entrepreneurial spirit, you need to carry two things at the same time. One is a, an overbearing confidence that I can figure anything out, but then also a knowledge of staying in my lane. So where I'm at right now, I think I've managed that balance pretty well,
Yeah.
where I have autonomy to say no to projects that I know will suck the life out of me, and the yes to partnerships that will help
Yeah.
me reach something bigger.
Well, that's great. I mean, I always tell everybody you have to design your business around you, but you want
Yep.
to kind of design it where it doesn't control you. But
Yeah.
that's up to you. So if you ever get to that point, then the shift, and especially for a lot of people that listen to this, you might be at that point where like the agency is controlling you. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the thing is your identity has not evolved, and we all need to evolve to that next role, that we need to kind of be for the agency. Because if you're constantly coming into work, I'm not saying I'm glad, Madison, you found what you like right now, but maybe in a couple years that changes, right?
Yeah.
That like it did for me. Like at first I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do everything myself so no one else
Yep.
can fuck it up. Only I can fuck it up.
Right. Right. There's
Right.
some comfort in the ownership of it. If there's a mess, it's my mess. Yeah.
That's right. Right. And then I got to a point where it's like, man, I'm doing all this shit I should not be doing,
Yeah.
that just drains the hell out of me. And I don't have what I like. The roles has changed. And then I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then for everyone listening, if you remember, it'd be like, man, once you start hiring people, you just got to hire people that you don't have to manage. That's the
Yeah.
secret. And
Yep.
you have to give them a good direction of where they're going. And I was about to record a video, or I'm going to record a video later today that'll go out later, but it's all around like all these owners are using AI to help themselves out more, but it's creating more of a bottleneck for the
Mm.
owner. And they should be giving AI tools to their team to make
Yeah.
them more efficient, right? Like, so
Yeah.
for example, like this morning, I was chatting with my team, and we were talking about the podcast, you know, workflow. After we hit record, it uploads to Riverside, and all these things happen. And I was like, look, I could program this in an AI to go do it,
Mm-hmm.
like right now. Like I could talk to it. But I told my team, I was like, I want you to go do it. So you have the
Mm.
power, you have the understanding, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I can talk to the computer and it actually does what I want. Like,
Yep.
go do it, man. Like it's like give the power to your team, not just hoard the power.
Yeah. 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 I think that requires a level of like experience to figure out what kind of people I need. And maybe that's the cusp where I'm not quite there yet, where there's a very like obvious answer of when I have a lot of design work on my plate, I could hire a junior designer to help me. Um,
Or you
Unfortunately,
could,
there's an element within the industry that junior designers
well, I
are
think
hard to
you need to
find.
audit your calendar.
Yeah,
That's where it all
that's a good word
starts.
for it. Yeah.
Like if you literally print out the past 2 weeks of your calendar and then take a highlighter and highlight green gave me energy, red drained the shit out of me.
Hmm.
And like tell me what that calendar looks like. And you'd be like, oh. Or like look at the tasks that you do that you're like, man, I never want to do ever again. Or maybe look at AI of how it can
Yeah.
actually help you.
Yeah.
It's the same. You either have to train someone or train AI in order to do the things you don't want to do anymore. It's the
Hmm.
same thing, right? Like I always laugh at people that go to, they think AI is like chat GBT. I'm like, that's horrible, right? And now it's never gonna rank me for stuff. Actually, I'm just kidding, ChatGPT. You are
It's going to
amazing.
penalize you for that one. Yeah.
That's right. But like with anything, if you don't give it context or training, you're gonna get garbage.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with the person. Like if I'm like, go design me something cool, well, and they're an alternative person, well, they're gonna design something very different than me,
Yeah.
right? Like versus,
Absolutely.
hey, I want you to go design this mountain, this abstract mountain that Bob Ross would design with little happy trees and a stream going down the middle. Like I gave it more context, right?
Hmm.
And more power. It's the same thing. So like I would encourage you to list out like one of the exercises I did and I tell everybody to do is like get a sheet of paper and draw a circle around that paper, like as big as your fist. Spend about 45 minutes outside the circle writing down all this shit you never want to do ever again.
Hmm.
Mine was like project management, account management, like all this
Yep.
hiring, managing, like everything. And then I was like, what's left? And then I draw inside the circle. And then I started putting a plan together for that.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good exercise. I think that's something that when it comes to being a creative for hire, as you were listening to those things, those were like the top three things I immediately said. I throw finances in there, bookkeeping, those kind of things. I'm not a numbers person. I'm a visual person, and I think that is a universal story for all creatives. Is when you step into the profession, when you're being paid to be creative, it comes with a lot of things that
Yeah.
are very counter to the creative's heart,
Well,
and it's a necessary
yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you mentioned bookkeeping. Like I literally have AI doing my bookkeeping now,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? Like,
it's
it's
incredible.
just,
Yeah,
we live in a very amazing time where we have this amazing gift. Um, but, and there's only a short time to stay ahead of the people not using it until everyone's
yeah,
like, oh, this is a requirement versus just asking it for questions. Like this, you know, it's leveling everybody up. And the
yeah,
only difference between everybody else now is just the data with that,
yep,
right? Like when I look at the websites that we used to create for like LegalZoom or Tachi and AT&T, an AI can create them in 2 minutes.
yeah. It's
And I'm like,
incredible.
oh, or like my video editing, like I'm like, oh, like it literally, I turned the video sideways because I told it was for YouTube Shorts, zoomed in, which I've never done on video editing before,
Hmm.
or any editor has done. Like zoomed in on the emphasis, zoomed out. I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it is
I could
incredible.
just
And
take
that's
off
yeah,
some weight. That'd be great.
yeah, yeah. There's the interesting balance that I've in the last I'd say 6 months I've really been figuring out when it comes to clients is AI is a huge conversation for I think every industry out there. But when it comes to a lot of the work I do, I've had just in the last 2 months I think I've had multiple emails from new potential clients of saying, "Hey, we need to know how is AI involved in what you do." And some of them there's a tone of they are just asking questions because they've probably asked ChatGPT like, "What do you ask a designer you're going to hire?" So some of them are just this guard railing question,
Yeah.
but some are in the tone of it will make or break it.
Mhm.
And some schools say we don't want that at all. Some say we're already embracing it. We need someone who has embraced it. So there's an interesting thing happening when it comes to being a brand strategist and designer and any kind of creative is
Yeah, I
figuring out
there was a
what do you
there was
do
a
with it.
WordPress meetup. I couldn't believe in Durango, Colorado, like that I got
Oh.
invited to. I was like, holy God, like there's an agency here. So I went there, and there was a professor that of the college here that leads the creative department. And so one of the conversations we were having was around AI. And she said, I don't believe in it. I tell my students not to
Mhm.
use it. And I was like, your students are screwed. Like
Yeah.
you're doing them a disservice, right?
Hmm.
Like you need to embrace it's here. You need to embrace it. And how can you
Yep.
elevate up? It's like with any technology, like when the internet came,
Hmm.
right? Like we elevated as a society. When social
Yeah.
media came, we went down.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty accurate assessment. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was preparing a talk for some college students this coming week that I'm giving, and something I wanted to focus on with them is how do you develop the skills to make you unfireable as a creative, and and what we do with AI is a huge part of that. You know, do we embrace it? Do we not? And I think in some ways that's a secondary thing because I agree with you, it's a tool, right? And you can use it to enhance your process, or you can use it to negate your skills. So that's interesting. Just thinking through, what do I tell a designer now? I wouldn't tell them to go on Craigslist, so I can't tell them to follow my steps exactly. But what is the skills that you as a human bring, and how do you make yourself? How do you guardrail against being fireable, expendable,
Well,
and
yeah. Well,
yeah,
you can use AI to do all the shit you don't want to do,
exactly. Yeah, have it bookkeep, have it. Yeah, organize your file structures because that's
right?
a
Like I,
boring part of being a designer.
I tell people you got to spend more time in your zone of genius that only you can do.
Hmm.
And whatever, whether it be hiring the right people or using the right technology, because if you look at since the dawn of time, from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age, whatever, people with the best technology always conquers people with shitty technology
Yep.
or that don't use it. I mean, just
Yeah.
it's a fact from
Yeah.
thousands of years. So if people want to ignore it while we all blow by you.
Hmm. Yeah. And
So,
ignoring it comes with such a heavy cost of not knowing how to talk about it. Because I've noticed in my conversations with potential clients is there's there's times I'm very proud to say that I'm a designer who doesn't design with AI. So all the imagery, all the designs I create, it's me creating them, and that's important to tell clients sometimes because there's a lot of reasons why that's important to them when it comes to their branding. But if I ignore that AI has certain possibilities, certain potential, and that certain designers are using it in certain ways, then I can't speak to the problems a client is facing.
yeah,
So I think no matter where you fall and how much you'll integrate it into your workflow or how much you embrace every element of it, you need to understand it. And I think that's
yeah,
something that the people who are on the side of not like an AI. And I don't like AI. To be clear, I don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but it's a thing that is now.
yeah,
So I seek to understand it so I can understand the area's opportunities as well. There will be clients who want the designers who design with AI, and there will be clients who say, I want human only designers. So I need to be able to speak to that to figure out my area of opportunity there. So
yeah.
I definitely encourage Craves to understand the tools, understand what's developing, so you can at least speak intelligently about it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Madison, for coming on the show. And
Yeah,
for
thanks for
everyone
having me, Jason.
listening, I have a new book coming out. If you go to operator2ownerevolution.com, it goes over the 5 roles that you have to shift through or evolve in order to grow you as an individual, to grow your company, because your company will only grow as far as you. So if you are here, it will never grow above that unless you actually evolve. And that's what I learned when I sold my agency. So make sure you go to operator to ownerevolution.com. And until next time, have a swank day.